Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, Toshi has been absolutely going nuclear, and today we're going to cover the reason why I believe. So, listen, overall, right, when it comes from Toshi themselves, there was no big news from what I see, right? We could just see right, nothing on the Twitter page. However, there is something coming up in a couple of days. We can see 5 days left, which was May 6th. So pretty practically tomorrow, all right, Toshi Base tournament is live on the BSMNT and is completely free to play. So highly recommend joining it. Also, before we talk about the technical analysis, right, we can see that Toshi is at 108,000 followers, and it actually does give very, very, very good engagements and good views. We can see in the last hour, 4.6K views, 12K views, 13K, 11K, 6.1, 15K, 27K, 10K. So pretty active community. That is what we love to see. But without further ado, let's just jump right into the technical analysis, right? We talked about in the last Toshi video how we had this big retracement down to 100 million market cap. We were roughly talking about Toshi when it started to break a little bit up here. And we said, hey, look, if we were going to be looking for buys, I would be looking to buy, into this order block or even just simply above here, which is just a nice solid support zone, right? Support and resistance zone. It was support on top. It was resistance on top, support at the bottom, right? We're talking about how here would be great buys. And of course, if anyone took that advice, which is not financial advice, you would be literally up, 2 times the amount just a couple of days later, right? Right from this purple zone, this one over here. And we can see, right? Toshi has been going nuclear. Now, some people might be a little bit surprised. Some people might think, hey, like, why is that happening? And I'm going to explain everything super well and in detail, right? If we go on a higher time frame, all right, we could see, even if we go to something like the monthly, right? Toshi, ladies and gentlemen, was doing very, very well. It was going sideways for a couple of months, accumulating, broke out, right? That's when the Binance news came out, or sorry, Coinbase and like some other exchanges. We're talking about big news. We went from 44 million market cap, 75 million market cap to upwards of a billion after accumulating 4 months. Then we can see we created this monthly order block institutional candle right over here, right? This order block, which we eventually, tapped into this bottom here up to this. So tapped right into zone, which we were talking about that how that is going to be our main buying zone months ago. We literally said this, right? So if you bought anywhere in between here, it was absolutely the best and most optimal price. When we go to something like the weekly, we can see we had the big shift in momentum, right? We had this bottom, and then we had this weekly candle. If we do this, take away the wick, right? Take away the wick. We had this weekly high over here, which got taken out by this weekly candle back in April, 21st of April, that weekly candle, right? We can see we broke above it. And then we were just looking for some type of pullbacks before Toshi, sorry, I was going to say Turbo. I cover Turbo so much, but before Toshi was going to explode. Now, did we think it's going to explode, this much, this quick? No, but that is just how the markets are, which is why I just highly recommend, in my personal opinion, obviously not a financial advisor, but I always just say, like, listen, people, don't be too stingy on big pullbacks now, right? We had our pullback phases. Bitcoin was like a mid 70s, low 80s, right? Coins were down 80, 85, 90, 95%. Some coins maybe held a little bit better, like Ondo, maybe they went down 70% or something. But we've had buying opportunities. We had the zones marked up. So we can't be too stingy now because we are breaking to the upside, and we can see, right? If you were, looking to be stingy and like, hold back on Toshi, maybe try to get another sniper entry, maybe down like 125 million market cap or back to 105, then, you wouldn't have got it because there was no structure indicating saying, hey, we're not going to be going up higher, right? The structure was always suggesting that, hey, yeah, look, we're slowing down a little bit, but overall we are still bullish, right? We are still creating bullish structure, right? We have these lows over here, we have these higher highs over here, then we have these higher lows over here, and then boom, we can see, right? Momentum has been going absolutely crazy. Now, one of the things I think is happening for something like Toshi, the reason why it is pumping hard, ladies and gentlemen, because it's going from zone to zone, but there's also a lot of imbalance, okay? Imbalance is when there's a lack of support and resistance, and we can see, right? Kind of when Toshi topped out, it had a big wick and a big sell-off. And the next relevant kind of support and resistance was here, which we're currently entering. And then, it kind of had a decent quick sell-off too. So there was not much support and resistance up until above this zone. So after like 190 million market cap, upwards of 310 million, right? There was no real support and resistance, which is why we just flew by, right? Literally, right? We and this isn't even hindsight, this is just facts, right? We had the zones marked up. Boom, now we're coming here. Now it may slow down. I do think if Toshi is going to have a little bit of a pullback, it most likely would go into this daily order block over here, right? So we could go upwards of 400 million market cap before we slow down, right? Boom, 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 boom. Then we probably have a pullback. We probably would create this blue area as kind of like the new zone for support, more or less, right? If we just take a general zone of where we see a lot of support and resistance, this box over here, this purple box is going to be the next relevant zone before we then continue pushing up, right? As much as I want to say Toshi will go from 320 million market cap all the way to 650 in the next 2 days, I really, really doubt it. Not that I hate this coin or anything, but just because, just like in life, like even if you go to the gym every day, you still need a rest day, right? Even if you're fit and stuff and you go 6 times a week, there's usually that one day where you take a rest day, okay? When you work a lot, right, you still need to rest, you still need to sleep. And that is the same with the markets. Markets need to slow down. They need to pull back in order to go forward. So, right, that is what I believe is going to happen with Toshi. We'll most likely go to the 400 million market cap zone before we sell off a little bit, consolidate, right? Consolidation is good. Going sideways means, okay, we're buckling up again to burst out. Consolidation, imagine like a catapult, right? Imagine pulling it, pulling it, pulling, pulling it. And once we start breaking out of the consolidation, boom, that is when we start flying up high. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Let me know how much Toshi you hold. Let me know where you think this coin is going to go. Obviously, right, the next step for Toshi in the bigger picture is to reclaim these highs. Once we reclaim these highs, it would not surprise me eventually, right? This is just a general blueprint. This is not literally what's going to happen, right? Boom, we go something like this. We sweep below, we consolidate, and then we have more bursts. I do think this coin, remember we talked about, is a gem, a dark horse, can do very, very well. Still think a 10x is very likely from here. I believe this coin can go even upwards of 30x, 10 to 20x on a more realistic area, especially if base and all these other coins start really becoming meta on base. But yeah, obviously I had this coin as a dark horse. I said at the minimum, I think Toshi will do good, but on the higher scale, I think this coin can do excellent. So that is the latest minute. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye. And of course, before we actually officially end the video, although I said goodbye, right, we do have, like I said, 306 million market cap, 90 million volume, absolutely smashing it, rose 62% in just 1 day. We can see we still don't have the other exchange listing in terms of Binance, but that is fine. Toshi might not even need it. Toshi has been doing wonders, looking really, really good, and we will continue to look good. I hope you guys do have this coin. I hope you guys did enjoy. Now, actually officially talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.